From the land of lakes, this is 10,000 Takes, brought to you by Minnesota Score Radio. Wally and Eric back for yet another week as we slice and dice the always busy, always topical, super saturated Minnesota sports scene. And here we are closing in on the holidays and the new year, and the purple are still the dominant topic because it's a yo-yo team. One week, things look good. The next week, not so good. They're like a good stock and a bad stock.
Thought you were going to say they're the dominant team. They might be the dominant story, but they struggle to take advantage of situations. I mean, against the Bengals last weekend, opportunities just kept going by the boards. They gave up 21 fourth-quarter points. They had a 14-point lead. They had a chance to win it in overtime if they could just get, a centimeter or two, an inch or two. Couldn't do that. Tried it on third down, tried it on fourth down. I would suggest this. Don't run the ball with Nick Mullins. There's no reason to do that. Find somebody else, anybody else. Get the refrigerator Perry. He can get you an inch or two.
That's true. And part of that problem was if you're going to do the tush push, Philadelphia's perfected it. Other teams poorly imitate it, and the Vikings fall in that category of other teams. You don't have a Superman at center like the Eagles do in Jason Kelce. Garrett Bradbury is not built to push, nose guards backwards. And then not only that, Nick Mullins doesn't have explosiveness, and he's not Jalen Hurts. He doesn't squat 700 pounds, I don't think. And then you've got Brandon Powell on the tush push. You don't have C.J. Ham or even Josh Oliver, one of your tight ends. I'm not against the play, but they didn't have the right personnel in there. I mean, maybe they should have put Joshua Dobbs in there.
Oh, well, no, couldn't have. He was your emergency quarterback.
That's right, QB3 with a clipboard, right?
Exactly. They would have had to go to Jaron Hall at that point, which, I don't know. I'm not sure what they should be doing right now. I do know this. They have, as we head into the weekend, 3 games left, 2 with Detroit and 1 with the Packers. They still control their own destiny. Heck, if they are able to beat Detroit at your favorite place, the House of Noise, there is a fair chance that they could be playing for the NFC North title because Detroit's got Dallas the following week, and then the Vikings and Detroit play again. Now, this is assuming that the Vikings keep winning, of course.
The only way Minnesota wins the NFC North is to win out and for Detroit to lose out. And like you said, sandwiched between the Lions playing the Vikings twice is a trip to the Metroplex to play the Cowboys. And they're going to need the game, Dallas, as badly as Detroit does. So if you're the Lions, you're coming into Minnesota
this is their
Sunday
chance.
And saying, we've got to put them away. We can't even take our foot off the gas pedal because we win, we're the NFC North champs, and then it's all about seeding for Detroit.
Yeah, and they'll probably most likely be the 3 seed. That's kind of the way it looks right now. This is probably how it's going to play out. The Vikings are going to lose to Detroit on Sunday. They'll beat the Packers the following week, and it'll all come down to that final game. And they'll win in Detroit, make it in as a 9-8 team, and then lose to the Eagles or the 49ers.
Well, and then you're in that situation, if that's the way it goes. Who's Detroit going to play? Do they sit guys down? I mean, if they have no incentive, that's always a problem in the NFL when you get to the final week of the regular season.
That's what I'm suggesting here, is that the Lions have, and the Vikings have plenty of incentive, obviously, at home this weekend. But the Lions, they can clinch it. And then the Vikings will have more incentive. The Packers are done for all intents and purposes. And they have to win out and get some help, too.
Well, yeah, they're not done.
No.
Obviously, Green Bay has to find a way to win this week and then make it interesting when they play Minnesota on New Year's Eve in Minneapolis. How about that? All the cheeseheads liquored up downtown Minneapolis on New Year's Eve. Oh, my.
I'm staying away from
That's a whale of a combination there. Wisconsin people in downtown Minneapolis on New Year's Eve. Beef up security. Boy, beer sales are going to skyrocket.
If one of the notions that you've had recently is to stay away from downtown Minneapolis, New Year's Eve will give you more reason.
Yeah.
Packer fans on, they'll be
And if they win,
off the wagon.
If they win, it'll be toasting champagne and celebrating. If they lose, they'll be drinking because they're deprived.
Yeah, either way, it's a bad deal.
Either way, liquor sales will skyrocket.
Yeah, I would say stay away from downtown Minneapolis is my suggestion here. All right. Well, why don't we take a break? We're going to talk some hockey coming up with Jessi Pierce from NHL.com. Break down what's going on with your Minnesota Wild. They have been playing better since they changed coaches.
All right. We are 10K Takes, your tush push ticket.
In Lakeville, Minnesota, dozens of meeting venues are ready to host your next corporate event, banquet, and holiday party. Lakeville has unique conference facilities, a variety of hotels, an abundance of team-building options, and dining that are sure to impress. For suggestions that suit your needs, please call the Lakeville Convention and Visitors Bureau at 952-469-2020 or go to visitlakeville.org. Lakeville, we mean business.
The excitement is real at Fond du Lac Casino. With over 650 slots to play, there's always something going on right in the heart of downtown Duluth. Come in to enjoy 2 floors of entertainment where you'll find some of the hottest new games along with a number of the old favorites. Play at your comfort level all the way up to high stakes where the payouts can be huge. Relax in a comfortable atmosphere and maybe get a beverage while you gather and have fun with your friends. Open 7 days a week so you can
have a great time out at Fond du Lac.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision. It's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
10,000 takes rolling along. We're going to talk some pucks now. The Minnesota Wild have been playing much better the last few weeks. And joining us now to talk some Wild hockey, Jessi Pierce. She is Minnesota Wild beat writer for NHL.com, among other things. Jessi, okay, I guess I'll give you the softball easy question. What the heck has gone right that was going wrong before when Dean Evason was head coach? It's all his fault, right?
I mean, that would be the easy answer, the easy solution, but it's a head scratcher. It's funny. I was looking at stats for all teams that have since removed their coach. That's the Edmonton Oilers, the Minnesota Wild. This is before DJ Smith was ousted in Ottawa, but also St. Louis. And Edmonton is 10-5 since getting a new coach. Minnesota Wild 7-2 since getting a new coach, and St. Louis 2-0 since getting a new coach. So it must just be that messaging. I think for the Wild's sake, it was a lot of guilt. A lot of players were very kind of empathetic and apologetic for Dean Evason getting fired because they knew it was on them. It wasn't on Dean. It wasn't anything Dean had done wrong. They just can't fire players. And all the guys knew that. So I think a big part of that was them just stepping up and kind of playing better for their own sake. The other part is sometimes it's nice bringing in a new coach. Not only does that messaging kind of shift, but it's a clean slate for every player. You look at how Matt Boldy has really resurged. Well, that's because he's kind of doing a tryout process again for the new coach. Everybody's kind of clean and unknown to John Hines. So I think that's probably it. But really, there's never any real good, like, this is it, this is the thing. Sometimes it just works that way. It's funny how it works that way.
So what's happened to the goaltending, specifically Philip Gustafsson, who is playing like an all-star in the John Hines era? And I know that a lot of that is predicated on the blue line and the defenseman ahead of him. But, I mean, this is a dramatic change.
Yeah, it's for all the best, too. I think Gus Bus and Marc-Andre Fleury, for lack of a better word, too, is also struggling. I think the goaltending tandem, there were a lot of questions because, yes, the blue line had a lot of questions, but goaltending, Gus was not seeing the puck. It was almost a little bit of a regression, which after signing a 3-year extension makes you really, really nervous, especially as you look down the road here in the role that you want Gustafsson to play. But he's just playing like he did toward the end of last year. And it's absolutely tremendous. I think he's seeing the puck. I think him and a lot of the other players, it's that confidence, right? The confidence comes with winning and it comes with that swag. Going on a 4-game winning streak is certainly enough to put a little extra belief in there and belief in you. And as a goaltender, that's everything.
Kirill Kaprizov. Not exactly the thrill we enjoyed last season, and really still hasn't gotten back to the point where we think he's a difference maker yet. What's it going to take? Have you seen signs that that's going to turn the corner here as we head into the new year?
Man, you sure hope so. It's funny. I looked the stat up today. Through 28 games last year, Kirill Kaprizov had 17 goals and 18 assists. Currently, right now, he's just got 8 goals. Yeah. So night and day difference. I mean, that's kind of the concerning thing. Now, beyond the point production, Kirill just hasn't looked like himself. I think the past couple games, we've seen that skating, we've seen that cycling a little bit more. But that's the other concerning factor to me is he just doesn't look like the Kirill Kaprizov. Put the score aside. It's just he's not even playing like himself. He's turning the puck over. He's, trying too hard. And I think John Hines did a good thing by breaking up him and Matt Zuccarello. Those two were kind of each other's safety blanket. And I think putting him with Joel Eriksson and Matt Boldy is really challenging Kirill to kind of come out of his own and step out and play in a different style. So I think it's going to start to come together a little bit more. And I think once it does, hopefully that opens up the floodgates for Kirill because, again, this Minnesota Wild team needs him to produce at the highest level.
So, as you know, Jessi, the Wild dug a Grand Canyon-sized hole. Now they're trying to get back to the sea level, so to speak. A, do you think they're a playoff team? And B, even if they go in as a 6, 7, or 8 seed, based on what the Florida Panthers did a year ago, you always have hope in the NHL, don't you?
I mean, that's why we love the game, right? Any given night, it's certainly anybody's game. It's whoever can put together the best performance and come playoffs. It goes back to 0-0. It doesn't matter how you finish the regular season. No one cares if you had 100 points or if you had 72 points. You're in the playoffs and anything could happen. I think Minnesota will find their way into the playoffs. I think they will be a wild card spot. As you had mentioned, they have a lot of ground to make up on, though. They can't be giving away points in shootouts and overtimes like they did to Calgary and Vancouver. Certainly, it was great to grab the 2, but to still give some Western Division opponents those points is not great. So they need to really start locking it down, winning some of these big games and kind of, you don't want to say win out, but they have to win more than they can lose down this last stretch if they want to have a good shot. But yeah, then come playoffs, anything is possible. I don't know that this team is built to be a sustainably deep team. I don't know that they're going to make a deep run. You look at that Florida squad and they had a little bit of everything still. And Paul Maurice as head coach, I don't know that the Wild are there yet. I think there's still some elements that would definitely need to be ironed out. And the trade deadline, Bill Guerin certainly loves to make any moves that he can, so that can change between now and then. But yeah, I think the Wild will sneak in on the bubble as a wild card squad, and we'll see what happens come playoff time.
I know you talk to the players on a regular basis, whether it's at practice or post-game. What have you heard from them that they like about John Hines, the head coach?
Brock Faber said something really interesting to me just the other day, actually. And he had mentioned, when John Hines came in, he said, you know what, guys, I'm not here to pull you out of the hole that you've dug. I'm here to jump into that hole with you and get out together. And I thought that was just really kind of powerful. You know what I mean? Like, I think John Hines did a really good job at coming in and saying, you know what, I believe in you. Yes, this is not the best situation for any of us involved. And Hines acknowledged how, closely connected the players were to Dean Evason too, and he recognized that. It's like, I'm not trying to take away everything that Dean has created here with you guys. You guys are these players that you can be much better. So I think that's really important. And I think the other thing a lot of the players have certainly there's a rogue child running through here. The other thing that the players have really taken to heart is the way that John Hines has really tried to connect with them away from the ice and look at them as more than just hockey players. And, I think a lot of times that can get lost in the mix of a hockey season, but it's definitely something that the players have appreciated and have made them better for it as well.
Quick final thought, Jessi. Dean Evason said after they let him go, hey, I'm a good hockey coach. I should resurface somewhere. Will he?
I think so. I think Dean had done enough behind the bench here in Minnesota to gain the trust of, NHL teams and brass. And it's funny, we had Dean on our Bar Down Beauties podcast a week or two ago as well. And he said he can't imagine not coaching. He said he's certainly going to enjoy some of the time away, which means time with family. He's got a new grandson that he wants to meet. But he wants to get back behind coaching, and he wants it to be an NHL coaching position as well. So I think it wouldn't surprise me if Ottawa Kay McCollin. It wouldn't surprise me if San Jose eventually parts way with their coach, with the way that their season's going, and looks at Dean. Dean is a former San Jose Shark himself. So I think he will pop up somewhere sooner rather than later as well, because again, his resume isn't too shabby.
All right. Thanks, Jessi. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Anytime, guys. Thank you.
All right. She is Jessi Pierce from NHL.com right here on 10,000 Takes. Back after this.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earrings. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Finding the ideal place to stay is important for business travelers. Lakeville, Minnesota is conveniently located off I-35, just south of the Twin Cities, with a variety of hotel choices. Lakeville offers convenient amenities such as shopping, walking trails, golf, and more. Our unique meeting spaces, historic downtown, live music, and over 60 dining options are sure to impress. Book your next stay in Lakeville and experience convenience, comfort, and quality. Find your perfect hotel at visitlakeville.org.
Welcome back. 10,000 Takes. Talk some hoops now, because your Timberwolves, unlike your Vikings, are leaving no doubt about how good they are. I mean, the combination of Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert and Michael Conley, I mean, they have been as good as anybody in the NBA so far.
Absolutely. And I think what we've seen happen in the offseason, this team is growing up almost overnight. The talent's been there. It was there a year ago. And now Rudy G and Cat, it wasn't a good mix in year one. It's right now an unbelievable combination. And you throw Ant in, and the conventional wisdom in the NBA always has been you need 3 stars to be a title contender. Well, they appear to have that. And they have a great supporting cast. They play as a team. I don't sense any selfishness out there on the floor. I mean, guys want their points. That's part of the deal. But it's not coming ahead of the team goals. And I think Chris Finch and his staff, they've also gotten better. So this right now looks good for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Can they sustain it? I think they can, barring major injuries.
Yeah, and that's just what I was going to say. So last year when they brought Rudy in, didn't have much opportunity to play with Cat, particularly towards the beginning of the season. Cat gets hurt, was out most of the year, came back towards the end. But even when they were on the floor together for, a half dozen games or so in a row, I never got the sense that it was a great fit. I mean, there were a lot of folks, us included, that thought that the trade looked like a terrible trade at the time. And let's face it, Rudy Gobert has played much better this year than he did last year. And he has figured out a way to fit into Chris Finch's system.
And the cohesion is evident. And I think Chris Finch has defined the respective roles of his twin towers, Cat and Rudy G. I mean, Cat likes to stray. He's a stray cat, right? He'll get out beyond the arc. He'll hoist up 3 balls. That's his game. He can go down low if he needs to, but Rudy G's game is on the block. It's in the paint. So they've figured that out, and Ant can just wander around and do whatever he wants because he's that electric, that explosive. And look, Tim Conley, we banged on him a year ago. Got to give him credit this year. The trade looks great. But really, when you give up as much as he did in that blockbuster with Utah, this is all about making a deep run because you've sacrificed a lot of future picks. And it might happen.
Yeah, well, and they could, as you said, they could make a deep run. But if they go one and done in the playoffs for some reason, which is that is in our history here, by the way, in Minnesota, and I'm not just talking about the Timberwolves, I'm talking about just about any team you can come up with.
It's baked into the DNA of Minnesota teams. I think this team, first of all, the goal is a championship. Let's make sure we're clear on that. It's winning it all, a title, taking the confetti shower. But beyond that, that's got to be round 2 or 3 at the minimum.
I agree.
Because if that happens, the Twin Cities, the state of Minnesota, is going to go gaga.
Yeah, and I'm talking real round 2, not that play-in game nonsense. I mean, get a top 4 seed, preferably 1 or 2, so you have a couple of rounds at home, right? And then advance at least to the Western Conference Finals. If they get to the Western Conference Finals and somehow don't make it to the finals, we could probably say, okay, maybe next year. But if they fall short of that, I still say that this is not a trade that's going to look good until they get that far or further.
Yeah, they need success.
They do need success. Okay, before we take a break, we should also talk about your Minnesota Gophers, the football squad, that is. They have their bowl game that they earned by showing up for class and doing their homework, apparently.
Yeah.
So they're 5-7 on the season. They're going to the Quick Lane Bowl in Detroit, is the least of the bowls. They were the 82nd team out of 82 teams that make it into bowl games. They were number 82 to make it in. They're going to play Bowling Green, a team that they lost to a couple of years ago.
Favored by 31, by the way,
yes.
in that game.
They won't be favored by 31 on
3.
Tuesday. They're favored by 3.
Tickets, by the way, $3.
That's the magic number.
Yes.
3. So can they get a win in this big bowl game, which they're going to be lucky to have 20,000 fans in Detroit?
Yeah, I would think they'll probably let a lot of young kids into that game for free or give them, tickets for $1 or whatever. They've got to put some people in the seats so when they show the cameras and ESPN's doing the broadcast, it looks like the game has some relevance. And if Minnesota wins, what does that mean? We're number 81? Is that the chant around Dinkytown? and look, it's another chance to play a football game. No coach is going to not take advantage of that.
Of course.
You got a different quarterback, but at least you better win. Because if you win, you get to 6-7. If you lose, you're 5-8. How do you brag about that in your media guide?
I don't know. How do you brag about that to potential recruits?
You can't.
Whether they're coming through the transfer portal or whether they're coming out of high
we
school.
need you. We have vacancies.
Yeah, and we do have vacancies. One of them is going to be at quarterback. Cole Kramer will be your quarterback for this game, the kid out of Eden Prairie who has played sparingly over his 4 years at the University of Minnesota. He's run out of that Wildcat a few times, but we have not seen really what Cole Kramer can do as far as running a team for the length of a football game. We're going to find out. I wish him well, but he has already decided, even though he has a year of eligibility left, that he is not going to come back next year. So they're bringing some guys in through the portal. One guy, I think, from New Hampshire, and then they just got another transfer that's going to come in. So the quarterback situation right now is fluid. Let's put it that way.
It is, but you can change overnight if you get the right guy. Happened to Wisconsin with this Tanner Mordecai, who was at SMU in Oklahoma. We saw him knock off the Gophers a few weeks ago.
Yeah. Okay. More to come here on 10,000 Takes, and those would be takes of the day. That's coming up next. Stay with us.
The excitement is real at Fond du Lac Casino. With over 650 slots to play, there's always something going on right in the heart of downtown Duluth. Come in to enjoy 2 floors of entertainment where you'll find some of the hottest new games along with a number of the old favorites. Play at your comfort level all the way up to high stakes where the payouts can be huge. Relax in a comfortable atmosphere and maybe get a beverage while you gather and have fun with your friends. Open 7 days a week so you can
have a great time out at Fond du Lac.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earrings. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
10K Takes on television as we wrap up yet another episode. We'll get the takes of the day here shortly. But I know you want to hand out a Christmas gift, don't you?
'Tis the season.
How about that?
Yeah, and as I thought about what the gift should be, this is a sports-related Minnesota gift. I am going to give some Big Ten victories to Ben Johnson and the Golden Gopher men's basketball program. Look, they have gone the last 2 seasons finishing in last place in the Big Ten. They need to take a step forward. And I think they already did by winning early. They beat Nebraska a couple of weeks ago. I think it's on the radar for them to win a few more games this year. Maybe, let's see if we can get up to 5 or 6 wins this year. I know it seems like Wow, is that kind of lowering the bar? Well, let's keep it where it's at. Let's be realistic here. Let's keep Ben with his job. Let's win some games. Win it for Ben.
All right. Santa giving the Gopher men's hoops team a gift.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm going to give one to the Twins. I'm going to hope that the weather in the second week of April in Minneapolis is, I can't say 70 because that's a reach, but I'm going to say 45 to 50 and mild by April standards, because that's the only time Shohei Ohtani and the LA Dodgers come to Minnesota in the 2024 season. Look, it's a tough draw to get Shohei in April midweek, but you got to work with what the schedule makers give you. So I am going to give the Minnesota Twins some mild April weather so they can pack Target Field and see Shohei, because remember, he didn't play last season when the Angels came in. He was injured and the Angels were already done.
Yeah. You might want to add in there no rain, because 45 and rain is not going to be much fun either.
No, that's misery, isn't it?
Yes.
For baseball, it is.
Basically, it is.
Football, maybe, but not baseball. Okay. Takes of the day. Are you a grumpy guardian? Are you a happy camper? Sarcastic Sam? What is it this week?
Well, if you spent any time watching the Vikings against the Cincinnati Bengals this past Saturday in Cincinnati, you know that they had plenty of opportunities to win that football game. Heck, they, as we mentioned a little earlier, they blew a 14-point fourth quarter lead. My take is at Kevin O'Connell, the head coach, who, you know, he threw Josh Dobbs out the door because he threw 4 picks. Well, apparently KOC doesn't watch the film. Our guy Kurt Warner, the former MVP, the former Super Bowl champ, Hall of Famer, came out and said, if you look at the film, there were a lot of drop balls and there were a lot of tip balls that turned into interceptions. He didn't get any help from his wide receivers. Well, Josh Dobbs didn't get any help from his head coach either. Throws him out on his ear, and he puts Nick Mulligan in there as his starting quarterback, and we know that Nick can't run the football. He can't get a centimeter. I say that he should have stuck with Dobbs, and I said this all along, and I'm sticking to it.
All right, let's check that mood meter. He's a grumpy guardian. He's in the red zone, which is a place the Vikings haven't gone too much lately on the football field. All right, well, my take of the day, I just brought up Shohei, and I think anybody on planet Earth knows that he signed a 10-year, $700 million deal with the Los Angeles Dodgers. I'm happy about it. I'm a Dodger fan. But I'm going to be fair here. The San Francisco Giants, the Dodgers' arch rival, they gave him an $800 million offer. Shohei said no. And now the narrative is coming out that Shohei said no because he thought the city of San Francisco is too dangerous. It's not safe. Too much of a homeless crisis. Well, that is a false narrative, in my opinion. I was out there in July, went around the city, didn't get shot, saw people, walking around and seemingly having a good time. This is a bunch of lies, in my opinion, being spread by a certain network. And don't take my word for it, though. How about Steve Kerr, coach of the Golden State Warriors? They play in San Francisco. He said, quote, "It's tough. It's tough on the city that we have to deal with this reputation. But again, to me, it's more just political BS than reality." End of quote. So San Francisco, I still love you. I'll go back and visit you. And I like downtown Minneapolis, too. I think that narrative is way overblown.
Yeah. Yeah, we go to games all the time, whether it's at one end of downtown or the other, the Viking Stadium or Target Field.
And we've survived. Here we are.
Haven't got shot yet.
No. On that note, let's FedEx out those thank yous. One to Alex Yambrick, David Weld, Paul Langfellow, Rocky, Jessi Pierce. For Wally, I'm Eric Singh. So long. This is 10K Takes, your sports ticket.